What's up guys, in this video I'm going to go over how to kill all boss targets and wild targets both quickly and effectively. To begin, I'm going to show you how to insta-kill every boss. You can do this by throwing any explosive on the ground and shooting it with a shotgun. This works because there's a bug in the game where for every projectile that hits an explosive, one explosion happens. Usually with bullets, this isn't an issue since there's only one projectile, but with shotguns, there's many. You can test this bug with a decoy fuse as it will do enough damage to kill you. If you aren't running a shotgun, you can do this with a big bundle as well, but the boss needs to be close enough or they may survive with just a bit of health left. Next, of course, the sticky bomb is a great way of doing about 75% of the boss's health instantly, leaving not much work left to kill them. Now that explosives are out of the way, how should you kill the bosses without them? Before we start, you should know that every boss goes into a frenzy mode after you take out 25% of their health. While in frenzy, they take reduced damage. All bosses have a 80% damage reduction, making it pointless to fight them in this stage, with the exception of the Butcher who only has a 60% damage reduction, meaning you can still do good damage while in frenzy. Now, how to kill them. We'll start with the Butcher. He's immune to fire damage and all melee weapons work against him. The best ones are the axe and the sledgehammer. If you have a stamina shot, you can one-cycle the boss by running behind him and staying behind him, since he has this weird pivot mechanic when he turns. Keep in mind, his death animation does hurt the player if you stand in front of him when he swings. Just a side note, if you don't want to be burned alive while fighting this boss, you can use a choke bomb to put out his torch. Next, with Scrapbeak, he's most vulnerable to striking damage, so things that poke, like the katana, bayonets, riposte, or pitchforks work best. Unfortunately, you cannot one-cycle this boss, but you can two-cycle him if you have a stamina shot going, and any of the listed weapons, you just have to face check him. He will hit you once, and then you just run behind him. Fun fact, bosses like the Butcher and Scrapbeak are programmed not to kill you in frenzy. Once they hit you, they will try to run past you. Running away from them means that you stay in front of them, which will lead them to hitting you again. Once they hit you, simply stop moving or go behind them. Next, the Assassin. He's most vulnerable to blunt force, so the sledgehammer works best for him, while the shovel can also do some decent damage. However, you actually want rending damage for him, which I will explain later. The way this boss works, he will be moving around in his puddle form, which you can hit him still, but it's best to wait for him to pop up. Once he pops out of this form, he will try to hit the player. If you attack him successfully before he reaches you, you will cancel his attack. If he pops out of the wall, however, he will be using his ranged attack. The best way to deal with this is to run out of his line of sight. Once he goes into frenzy, he will spawn clones of himself. You either have to kill all the clones or wait for them to kill themselves. The quicker you kill the clones, the faster you can end his frenzy. I suggest trying to kill them as soon as they pop out of him, as there's a brief moment before they start moving around. Might I add, they are basically non-lethal, and this boss's frenzy is more of a nuisance than a worry. He will spawn clones up to 3 times, I believe. I keep forgetting to count. But you can actually one-cycle this boss. You see, when the clones are spawning in, they are briefly inside of the main boss before they pop out. If you have a weapon that does rending damage, which is slash damage, the type of damage that causes bleed and hits multiple enemies, you can stun lock the boss as you can instantly kill all the clones. He can break out of the stun lock, so if you want to one-cycle him, you will need teammates helping you kill him. Fun fact, in the compound mob battery, if you light the oil in the back room, this boss will kill himself if you stay back there. Next, we have the Spider, the most annoying boss of them all, as he is the only boss who runs away from you. He is immune to poison and is not weak to any weapon type in particular, so you just want the most damage, that being the sledgehammer or the axe in second place, as these weapons get the boss into frenzy with just 2 heavy hits. While out of frenzy, he has 2 main attacks, jumping on the player temporarily disabling them, or shooting a poison cloud that remains for a small period of time. His frenzy is the most lethal of all the bosses, as he will target the player and attempt to do 3 attacks, dealing 25 damage each. And he will do this twice, meaning he can actually kill you. The best way to deal with this boss is to get him into a frenzy and then run away. Once he starts his triple attack, he only takes a few steps forward each hit, so if you run far enough, he will just miss every attack. On the second one, however, you want to stand just out of range, not to get hit, but close enough to run and hit him. Once he does a screech, he will take full damage again, and you can get a free hit, meaning you don't have to chase him around as much. If you plan on using a sticky bomb, wait for him to move somewhere on the wall and screech. This will indicate him standing in place long enough for you to throw it. Not doing this will lead to moments like this. Lastly, we have the only wild target, that being Rockjaw. She's an alligator mini-boss that spawns in certain bodies of water during non-daytime missions. The best thing against her is any melee tool, axe, and sledgehammer being the best, and I recommend stamina shots, as in phase 2 she releases these electric puddles that remove stamina, but these aren't mandatory, as good stamina management can allow the player to fight the boss without any issue. Her main attacks are the slow approaching chomp, which does 75 damage, and a charged up dash attack that does 125 damage. She can be very deadly, but she's easily dodged by simply walking in a circle around her. You can attack her after dodging her attack. She's very easy to kill. With enough practice, you can flawlessly kill her without ever getting hit, making her one of the least lethal targets in the game. Should you choose to shoot the bosses, Penny Shot is the best against all of them, requiring only 2 shots to frenzy every boss, making the Penny Shot Derringer a top pick for a tool slot. The Butcher, Scrapbeak, and Assassin, and Rockjaw are all vulnerable to poison ammo. Scrapbeak, Assassin, and the Spider are vulnerable to fire ammo. However, Scrapbeak's lore is he grabs all of the ammo boxes, tools, lanterns, and bear traps in the compound, and he has them in his backpack, which he will shake off when entering Frenzy. So, fire or explosives can burn or explode these dropped items, meaning you miss out on the valuable loot he drops, something to keep in mind. Also, Bomb Lance is OP against all these bosses, and they just added the spear while in the process of making this video, which from what I can see is overpowered for a tool slot, and I do expect a nerf. Lastly, a nice way to kill the Butcher and Scrapbeak with only tools is with throwing knives and any melee tool. If you throw all your knives at the boss, then attack the boss with your melee tool while removing the knives, dealing pull-out damage, you can get an easy 25% of their health, putting them into a frenzy, allowing you to do an easy 4 cycle.